The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everybody and welcome to today's webinar, and I'm joined today by Donal Morris, and he is CEO of RedZync, and he is going to be presenting a webinar on open access testbed facilities available to software companies in Europe. So now let me hand you over to Donal. Hello Donal.
Hello, Dara. Thanks very much for the opportunity to join you. Hello everybody, is Donal Morris. I'm with RedZync. We're a company based in Dublin and Portugal, and we have used the European Commission testbeds quite significantly, and we've been asked by the Fusion project to make a presentation to you today about how the testbeds can be used by companies and what sort of testbeds they are. So I'm just going to share my screen now, and you should be able to see my my slide deck. Just allow this to go to the screen.
Yep, we can see that now. Perfect.
So Dara, have you see that now? Okay, thank you very much.
We're all set.
Okay, well let me start then, and Dara, what we're showing now is the agenda, which I'm really going to introduce FIRE. So FIRE is the Future Internet Research and Experimentation. I'm going to show you some of the testbeds that are available. I'm going to talk about the case studies where our company has been involved in two different projects on these testbeds. And then we've got a chance for questions where we'd really like to understand what people's requirements and needs are for future internet testing. So the first, I suppose, issue is really what is the future internet? It means lots of different things to different people. From the European Commission point of view, there's several hundreds of millions being invested in research and development in this area, and it means a lot of different things. It has a wide scope. It can mean sensors, it can mean smart cities, it can mean telemedicine, it can mean the Internet of Things, it can mean priority traffic or quality of service. And it can mean some of these features in different sectors, whether they're transport, e-health, entertainment, green sector. And the European Commission is building quite a large ecosystem. So FIRE is Future Internet Research and Experimentation. And really what they're looking to do and have done is connected internet users and applications to a different stack, which has got services, infrastructure, and to enable people who have had different applications to conduct experiments and tests on these different applications. So there's a large infrastructure available for conducting these types of tests and validation activities. So FIRE is Future Internet Research and Experimentation. It's a range of projects with testbeds and experiments funded by the European Commission. There are lots and lots of different FIRE projects in different sectors. So there's FIRE projects in the area of wireless technology, networking. There's testbeds in the area of Internet of Things, in the area of sensors, and the area of clouds, in the area of software-defined networking, network management and protocols. And there's, I suppose, different testbeds that are available. There's very large ones that are available, and then there are smaller experiments that people have conducted on these testbeds. And that's what I'm going to tell you about in the case study, is two of the experiments that we've conducted on some of these testbeds. The testbeds are available in different formats and access. So there's about 7 active ones at the moment, and some of these are involved in what's called an open call, where they invite people to submit a proposal to work with the testbeds. And these open call testbeds they actually provide funding for an experiment as part of the European Commission funding program. And then there's open access, where if you have an experiment and you don't really need any funding for it, and you have a particular objective, they will provide access to the testbed so that you can test on these testbeds. And I suppose the European Union, who is funding all this, they really want to see more SMEs involved, so small to medium-sized enterprises. They want to see more of these involved, mainly the current uses by the academic community, with some notable exceptions where there are industry players involved. But a lot of these facilities, they want to expand that to the use of the SME community, the startup community, and the more mature SME participants. And I suppose the value proposition is that fire testbeds, they're available to help test and validate new products and services. And they're useful for testing and reducing risk for new technology. They're especially useful for scale testing. The testbeds are available for free and sometimes with EU funding. Typically you can get funding between say 25k and 75k for small experiments, and on larger collaborative experiments there can be projects up to $1 million and greater, but they will be quite large collaborative projects. And the ones I'm going to tell you about the smaller experiments, which can be funded around 25 or 75k. So some of the testbeds, to tell you about some of the testbeds, I'm going to talk to you about 4 of them. And there are 4 large testbeds available that are very active at the moment. So Fed for Fire is the first one. That's a testbed federation organized by iMinds, which is a research platform in Belgium and Ghent. CREW is a cognitive radio testbed that again is organized by the same organization in Belgium and Ghent. FLEX is a testbed in the area of 4G LTE testbeds, and it's run by a university in Athens. And Sunrise is a testbed to do with the underwater Internet of Things, very interesting testbed run by some organizations centered around Italy. To give you an example, Fed for Fire is a very big consortium. It's an integrated project in the European Commission terminology, and it has a budget of $7.75 million, and it has all of those organizations, industry, and partners involved. They have testbeds all around Europe, so it's a federation of testbeds. Big example at the top, there's a testbed in EPCC, the High Performance Computing Centre in University of Edinburgh. There is testbeds in Germany, the Fusico testbed, which is an evolved packet core for wireless technology for 4G and for 5G. There is a Smart Santander facility in Spain, which is a testbed for smart cities, basically in Santander. So these are a lot of the different testbeds available through Fed for Fire, and there's a rich availability of those testbeds. Fed for Fire is available for use, and there's an open access starting at the end of this year, and then there's an open call where they provide funding for SMEs to work on the testbeds. And during 2015 there'll be 2 open calls where they'll offer 4 or 5 organizations, maybe 25,000 each, to run testbeds, and this will be through a competitive bid. They have a platform allowing you to set up the different testbeds and features, and they integrate all the different testbeds together and allow you to request resources on the testbeds using a centralized tool, and that can allow you to configure your experiment. CREW then is another testbed. This testbed is available for open federation of cognitive radio. So if you have an application or a technology that needs spectrum sensing, cognitive radio, spectrum sharing in licensed and unlicensed bands, this is a testbed that's very helpful for that. So if you have a radio level application at layer 1, the visible layer, and you want to test it, CREW is a very good place to do this. The CREW offers 5 different testbeds. They have a testbed in Dublin, in Ghent in Belgium, in Berlin, in Ljubljana, and also in Dresden. So they have lots of different components in their testbed, different wireless technologies, different spectrum bands, and they have methodologies and tools to create the experiment, and lots of expertise from the physical layer right up to the application layer. They have a portal which allows you to access the facilities, and they can provide you with technical support and assistance for the experiments. A picture of the test beds. So there's heterogeneous ISM in Ghent. There's wireless sensor in Technical University of Berlin. There's TV bands in Dublin, in Trinity College Dublin. There's LTE Advanced in Dresden, at Technical University of Dresden. And also in Ljubljana, there's outdoor test bed for wireless. So the crew have a continuous open access mode. So if you want to get basic access and server support, you can have that for free. If you want guaranteed access with advanced support, they can do that, but they want a formal request, and they need to just go through the process of exactly what your test would be. Flex is another test bed. It's available through the Flex project, which is a project that started this year and will go for 3 years. And it has a number of organizations who have radio networking equipment, and mostly eNode Bs from IP access, and Evolved Packet Core from Siren, along with a number of operators like Cosmi. Cosmoti is the operator, the mobile operator in Greece. And you can use their testbed for testing LTE applications. So they are enabling integration with experiments. They have a number of open calls, and they are allowing organizations to participate in their platform. I suppose they have two approaches. They have an approach based on IP access femtocells and Siren's Evolved Packet Core network. And they also have open source components. They have LTE software and hardware, which has been fully integrated into testbeds, and they've got monitoring, RF emulation, and mobility functions, which they're currently developing. They have 2 open calls for experiments with these facilities, one of which happened recently, and there will be another one happening in the second part of 2015. The Flex testbed, so it's available in a number of different locations. It's in Greece, it's in France, and also in Belgium. Another testbed, it's a very interesting one. It's very niche and focused. It's the Internet of Things for the underwater sector. So it's really about, if you have an application or project to do with marine or to do with fisheries, or for the oil industry where you're under the sea, this is a very good testbed to use. They have a number of different facilities which are allowing for diverse marine environments for oceans, lakes, canals, and they're allowing for people to develop new products and platforms in the area of the underwater Internet of Things. So they have test beds in Italy, in Turkey, in the Netherlands, also in the US, near Buffalo, and also in Portugal and Porto. So Jan, I think we'll pass to you and organize the poll question.
That's great. Thank you very much, Donal. I'm just going to put a poll question up on your screens now. And if you'd just take a moment to answer the question, do you need testing facilities in future internet technologies? So all these technologies that Donal has been talking about in the European Commission, they're called the Future Internet. So at what timescale do you need them? So if you could just tick a box and send it back.
That's great. So I can see that people are starting to put those poll votes in. So a number of people are coming back to say now, within 12 months, later. So I think about 50% of the people on the call have voted. So let's just give that a few more minutes.
Yeah. We'll give it another 10 seconds. If you can poll now, that would be great. Okay, so I'm going to close it up now. Hopefully all the votes are in. And here are the results, if you want to take a moment to have a look at that. So 13% are saying that they would like or need testing facilities now, and 38% are saying in 12 months, 50% later. So that's great to know, and we would love to talk to you and help you get in front of those testbed facilities. We'll talk about that in a little while.
Okay. Thanks, Jan. Shall I move on now? So if I go to the next slide, is it coming to your screen now? Current funding opportunities?
Yes, I can see that now.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's perfect there, Donal.
So just to summarize, thanks, Dara. Current funding opportunities. There is a large call from the European Commission with over 500 million being spent in the area of ICT, information and communication technologies, and there's a budget of 12 million for people who want to use these facilities. So if your organization wants to make a very large experiment, experiment that might cost $1 million or something, $500,000 to $1 million, then you could apply to this call. You would need to be working with other partners as part of a consortium, but there is a large budget available for that. And then I'm just advancing my slide, and it's okay. And then I'm not sure, Jan, if you're seeing the presentation. It just seems to have stalled for me. So there's also open calls arriving in 2015 for experiments to be funded on the testbeds, and typical funding is 25k to 75k for small experiments. So now I'm going to go and show you some case studies. This is a project that our company, RedZinc, was involved in. It was an experiment that we conducted in 2011 and ran for 12 months. There was a budget of 160k of euros, and two companies were involved. This is RedZinc and a company called Cloudium in Dublin. And the idea was to validate virtual path slice technology in conjunction with desktop virtualization in a wide area environment. So our company's product is a virtual path slice engine, and we're working with Cloudium, who are desktop virtualization. And what we did was we wanted to use a right-of-way system to enable, I suppose, a chipset in the cloud to deliver video desktop onto a thin client. And we wanted to be sure that we had a guarantee of the bitrate for that application. So we set up an experiment. It was actually based in Belgium. We had remote access to the platform, and we were able to set up the virtual path slice mechanism in the virtual wall stack at the Federal Fire Testbed in Belgium. We set up the thin clients, and we were able to run a number of experiments to verify and to validate how the cloud application would work in a wide area network. So we were able to simulate on a local area network on a cloud stack. We were able to simulate a wide area network with multiple routers and multiple hops, and we were able to validate that the video application would work and what sort of constraints were it was valid in. We conducted lots of experiments and got the results that we were looking for obtained to work out, and what we were able to work out the breakpoints where the application required bandwidth and what sort of bandwidth was required. Another example of a experiment is the CityFlow project, and this was a very big experiment. It had a budget of 800k, it was a duration of 21 months. It had 4 partners, 2 SMEs and 2 universities, and it was based in Ghent in Belgium, again the same location. The 2 SMEs were our company RedZinc and a company in Portugal called OneSource, and then the University of Ghent was involved, and also University of Edinburgh. And the motivation was really to validate the virtual path slice technology that our company have at large scale. This is a control plane that goes on to control plane infrastructure of telecommunications companies, and we wanted to evaluate this at large scale. So we emulated the city of 1 million users using the testbed in Belgium, and we were able to generate simulate thousands and thousands of users using the system at any one time to evaluate performance and network loading. And the consortium, as I mentioned, had a number of different partners. So we provided the VPS controller. OneSource provided slice signaling subject matter expertise. iMinds in Belgium provided the virtual wall and the experiment. And University of Edinburgh High Performance Computing provided experts in designing large-scale systems. We built this topology. It was a system which had 3 rings in it. So those rings represent distribution network for telecommunications, wireless and wireline network. There was about 65 different servers using the experiment, and we deployed what's called Open V switches to all the different servers to emulate network routers and network switches. And we had a content delivery network as well emulated. And what we were doing really was using this to stress test the control plane, where we're able to access, for a few weeks we were able to access 60 or 70 servers and put in a high volume of stimulation pulses to measure the performance of our system, to measure the response time. We got lots of different graphs like this one, where we were looking at the mean response time, the mean drop time, and we were stimulating the triggers and drops for a very high volume call setup on this testbed. So this is a very valuable testbed for us. So Jan, if you want to go to the second poll question, please go ahead now.
Okay, thanks Donal. I'm just going to ask the second poll question now. So really we want to help SMEs to apply for these testbed facilities. This is the whole aim of the Fusion project that we're working in. And if there's anything that we can do to help you apply, to help you understand which testbed facility is right for you, to help you understand which test facilities are available for applications now, any of those questions, if you'd like us to contact you and discuss them, or discuss any aspect of what we've just talked about today, please answer the poll here and let us know that we can be in touch. So I'm seeing that a third and now half of people have voted on the poll. So I'm going to leave it open for another little bit to see if we can get anyone else to answer the poll. So while the testbed facilities are all sitting there, they've been run every day with different projects. They have had millions and millions of euro spent on them. They're state-of-the-art testbed facilities, and while not always easy to understand which testbed does what, that's what we're here to help you with.
So Jan, do you want me to...
Shall we continue on?
Okay.
Okay. I'll just give you 10 more seconds if any last people want to answer that. Okay, I'm going to close it down now. Thank you, everyone.
So thanks, Jan. So I guess the next really part is really questions and answers. We're happy to understand any questions you have. We'd like to really try and hear your thoughts on the presentation, hear what potential needs and requirements you might have. I suppose we'd be keen to know what are the needs from the point of view of future Internet testbeds, and particularly those of you who are looking to have conduct these type of tests in the next immediately, I suppose. So, Jan, do you have questions arriving on the poll thing?
Yeah, just give me a moment here. So, one question that I've had is how do you get access to the test beds? And I know you've mentioned locations, but what locations are they in and how do you get access to them?
Well, the access is usually can be arranged remotely. So we've used testbeds in Belgium, and we had remote access to them all the time using OpenVPN. This testbed was a cloud testbed. It was based in Belgium, in Ghent. So probably the test actually went on over a year, and it was, I suppose, accessed using OpenVPN initially. So we just had a client who were given security details, and our team in Dublin and Portugal were able to remotely access the testbed. And then when we needed to do very specific measurements, we were given a room in Belgium where we could set up our own equipment for a couple of days, and we conducted dedicated experiments by actually going to Belgium and setting up in the space that they provided for us. Other testbeds, you asked about locations, and there's lots of different locations. So to give you an example, as well as the one in Ghent, there's a possibility of the high performance computing testbed in the Bonfire testbed in Edinburgh as part of University of Edinburgh. There's the testbed on the underwater Internet of Things that's based in Italy. In Porto in Portugal, in Twente in the Netherlands, and the SDN testbed that's based in Berlin, so it's software-defined networking testbed. It's distributed. It's based in Barcelona. It's based in Berlin, and also in Switzerland, or one of the universities in Switzerland. The testbed for the wireless networking for LTE and cognitive radio, there's a few of those. One is based in Dresden, another one again in Belgium, and there's one of those in south of France near Nice, and there's two of them then in Greece. One of them near Athens and one of them outside Athens, about 50 to 100 kilometers outside Athens. So I think for access those, you can get remotely, you can get open VPN access to most of these testbeds for remote access. But if you have physical equipment you need to bring there, then obviously you've got to travel there, and these testbeds will provide desk facilities where you can set up your experiment and work it. You can probably leave things there if necessary and then access them remotely. So it's a mixture of traveling to the testbeds or remote access. Thank you, Jan. Any next questions, please?
So I just wanted to ask the attendees if they have any particular testing requirements that they'd like to ask Donal what the relevant testbed would be for that. So I know that a number of you have testing needs right now, and a number of you have testing needs in the next 6 to 12 months. Do any of you have questions on the type of product or application that you're developing, and you'd like to know more about what testbed would be relevant to it?
So, Jan, are you asking people to come on the microphone, or are you asking them to type in the question into the box there?
To type in the question, I suppose, is the easiest thing. So if you go to the chat box and type in the question, if you have one.
So do you have another one while that's happening? Do you want me to go on?
Yeah, so one other question. How are the testbeds that are existing, how are they funded in order to offer the services, these services of testing to other companies and universities and SMEs?
They're publicly funded, so the testbeds are funded through the European Commission DG Connect. So DG Connect is a unit in the European Commission, part of the telecoms group, and they have several hundreds of millions to fund into European research and development. And what happens is that Consortium will put together a proposal for publicly funded tenders, and they will put a proposal to build these testbeds. And these testbeds will be funded then through the European Commission. So that example of Fed for Fire, they have a testbed that's funded to the value of 7 million. All that funding would have come from the European Commission Future Internet call for research testbeds, research and experimentation testbeds.
Okay, very good. If anybody in the audience wants to raise their hand on the list, I can unmute you, and if you want to then ask a question and discuss it, you're welcome to do that.
Yeah, I suppose, Jan, one of the things as well to say is that as well as the testbeds we've shown here, there are 4 or 5 different testbeds that are not on the list yet because they've just been finalised. But the European Commission, I think, is spending now another 15 million, which was in the call for proposals last Easter. And there's about 5 testbeds now going to come online early next year. In lots of different areas, some of them in wireless areas. There's a new testbed coming along in the area of drones. So if you have drone technology and you want to test, that's a new possibility coming along as well. So I mean, maybe if you want to have an open mic session or have a discussion, if anybody wants to, I suppose, understand more about the testbeds, please shout now.
Last chance to have your questions answered by the expert.
I mean, so I think the open mic is there. I mean, I just see a few names there. I'll just call out, like Dina Gonzalez. Do you have any immediate requirements, or? Yeah. Okay, well, there's a lot of noise coming as well, Jan, with that.
Yes,
so,
it's actually quite difficult to...
Okay, well, I think that's probably we should close then if we have all the questions so far. I don't know if you've got any more, Jan. I suppose
that's it from everybody. There's no other questions answered. You've given us a great overview of the testbeds that are available. Thank you for that.
Okay, thanks very much. All right, well, I'll just put up our email address at the end. If you want to contact us, this is the link, and please contact Jan if you want to take this any further.
Yep. So those are my details: Jan Caffrey, Quartz Park, and my mobile number and my email address. So it's jcaffrey@quartzpark.com.
Okay, and thank you very much for that presentation, Donal. And thanks as well, Jan, for handling those polls as well and going through the Q&A. And as you can see there, you can get in contact with Jan there. Her email address is here, as well as her phone number. And I will have a recording of this webinar available on the Test Huddle website and directly after this webinar. So you can check back over again. And if you want to get in touch, you'll be able to get their contact details there. Thank you all once again. The webinar is now over, and take care, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, Tara. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you, everybody.
everybody.
Bye-bye.